Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. But I'm not gonna act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared.
Why do white people pay so much attention to black people if they don't like them?
You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends.
You would think if you didn't like something, why would you be paying attention to it?
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown.
And that's the truth of the matter. So I stayed away from that. And remember, I told you the drug story from when I'm in the park.
I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right.
Yeah. So these are just the things. I had all of those when I came in. I already was ready for that.
This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to fucking choke the shit out of you when I see you.
Comedian Katt Williams' past warning to former NFL star and media personality Shannon Sharpe has taken on new and ominous significance as allegations of sexual misconduct and abusive behavior against Sharpe surface, sparking widespread outrage and reigniting debates about power dynamics, fetishization, and predatory relationships in the celebrity world. During a candid appearance on Sharpe's own podcast, Club Shay Shay, Katt Williams did not mince words when he addressed the risks associated with dating significantly younger white women, particularly warning against the manipulative traps and social consequences that often accompany such relationships where age, race, and power disparities collide. At the time, many dismissed Katt's comments as little more than edgy humor, but with the shocking details of a $50 million civil lawsuit now dominating headlines, that once overlooked interview clip has gone viral for its eerie foreshadowing. Viewers have since revisited the episode, noting Sharpe's visibly uncomfortable body language as Williams spoke directly to him, highlighting how prescient Katt's concerns truly were. What makes this revisitation even more haunting is the now-revealed timeline that suggests Sharpe was already entangled with the accuser, 19-year-old OnlyFans model Gabriella Zuniga, during the recording of that very interview, a revelation that has fueled the narrative that Williams wasn't speaking hypothetically, but addressing a real-time situation that Sharpe knew could one day implode. The civil suit filed in Clark County, Nevada by Zuniga details serious allegations that Sharpe raped her at least twice throughout their brief relationship, subjected her to emotional and verbal mistreatment, and recorded intimate moments without her consent, all while issuing threats against her life to maintain control. The case has sent shockwaves through both the sports and entertainment industries, not only because of the gravity of the claims, but also because of the jarring 35-year age gap between Sharpe, who is 55, and Zuniga, who was just 19 when their involvement allegedly began. Critics argue that this enormous age disparity alone presents a power imbalance so extreme that even claims of consent warrant scrutiny, with many pointing out that a teenager still navigating early adulthood is particularly vulnerable to manipulation by an older, wealthy, and high-profile figure like Sharpe. But the age difference is just the tip of the iceberg. Adding an even darker layer to the controversy are allegations that Sharpe engaged in race-based sexual roleplay with Zuniga, a fetishized dynamic known as race play, where racial stereotypes and power differentials are explicitly incorporated into sexual scenarios. According to the lawsuit and leaked text exchanges, Zuniga made several racially charged comments, including expressing a desire for Sharpe to put a big black baby in her and making other disturbing statements that point directly to racially fetishized roleplay. Public reaction to these revelations has been one of disgust and disbelief, with many commentators asserting that such language and scenarios are unlikely to have originated from Zuniga herself, but were more plausibly introduced by Sharpe as part of his alleged preferences. The fact that Sharpe released only Zuniga's side of the text message exchanges while withholding his own responses has further fueled suspicions that he was the instigator of these racially degrading dynamics, prompting a broader discussion about the use of wealth and status to coerce younger partners into fulfilling such degrading fantasies. This partial release of evidence has backfired spectacularly, with social media and news outlets questioning Sharpe's transparency and credibility, pointing out that if he truly had nothing to hide, he would have disclosed the full scope of their conversations instead of selectively sharing fragments designed to paint Zuniga as the aggressor. In what many view as a desperate attempt to control the narrative, Sharpe's camp has leaned heavily on these selectively leaked texts, portraying Zuniga as an opportunistic extortionist, but the strategy has largely failed to shift public opinion, especially given the context of the significant power imbalance between the two parties. The scandal took an even darker turn with the release of an audio recording allegedly captured by Zuniga and shared by her attorney Tony Busby, in which Sharpe can be heard making chilling threats, including saying he might choke her in public. The specific phrasing, "big black guy chokes small white woman," struck a nerve with listeners, igniting outrage over the racialized violence embedded within such a statement. While some defenders have argued that the conversation could have been part of consensual role-play between the two, the vast majority of commentators and legal analysts agree that Sharpe's willingness to engage in such dialogue reflects an alarming lack of judgment, particularly for a man in his public position. Furthermore, the fact that Sharpe engaged in such violent racialized language, even hypothetically, has obliterated whatever public goodwill he had left, turning what might have been a private matter into an explosive public spectacle with potentially career-ending consequences. The audio clip has circulated widely across social media platforms, further damaging Sharpe's credibility and reinforcing the perception that he not only exercised poor judgment, but also exhibited deeply troubling behavior that crosses ethical lines, whether or not it meets criminal thresholds. The sheer brazenness of making such threats, regardless of the context, has left many asking how someone of Sharpe's experience and stature could display such a blatant disregard for the dangers of engaging in volatile, high-risk relationships. As the public digests the horrific details of the lawsuit, one thing has become abundantly clear: sympathy for Sharpe is in short supply. Across Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, fans and commentators alike have overwhelmingly condemned his actions, labeling them as irresponsible, immoral, and self-inflicted. A recurring theme among online reactions is that Sharpe, despite being nearly 60 years old, continues to make reckless decisions more typical of immature men in their early 20s, placing his career, reputation, and personal freedom at risk over lust-driven pursuits. This collective lack of sympathy is further exacerbated by Sharpe's history of publicly disparaging black women on his platform, only to now position himself as a victim of racial injustice when facing backlash for his own choices. Such hypocrisy has not gone unnoticed, with many black women on social media pointing out the irony of Sharpe pleading for racial solidarity and protection when he had so often used his voice to ridicule women from his own community. Instead of rallying support, Sharpe's attempt to frame himself as a black man unfairly targeted by the legal system has largely been met with ridicule, as critics argue that the true issue lies not in systemic oppression, but in Sharpe's own failure to exercise discretion, responsibility, and self-control. Adding fuel to the fire, Sharpe has publicly accused Tony Busby, the high-powered attorney representing Zuniga, of spearheading a targeted campaign against successful black men. Sharpe's claim that Busby only goes after black men by referencing Busby's involvement in previous cases with celebrities like Jay-Z appears to be an attempt to redirect the conversation away from his own conduct and toward a narrative of racial persecution. However, this defense has been widely dismissed as deflection, with many pointing out that the allegations Sharpe faces are not merely about race, but about his alleged predatory behavior, race play fetishism, and abusive conduct. In fact, critics argue that Sharpe's race-based defense strategy only highlights the contradiction between his private actions and public rhetoric. Engaging in degrading racialized sexual behavior while simultaneously claiming to be a victim of racial targeting undermines his argument and reinforces the perception that he is grasping at straws to avoid accountability. Meanwhile, the lawsuit has prompted wider reflection on the disturbing trend of older male celebrities seeking out relationships with much younger, often financially vulnerable women, a pattern that many argue perpetuates cycles of exploitation and abuse. Commentators have drawn damning parallels between Sharpe's behavior and the toxic masculinity often celebrated within celebrity culture, comparing his choices to those of other high-profile men like rapper Future, whose notorious track record with younger women and multiple child support cases have also drawn public criticism. The current backlash against Sharpe is emblematic of a growing cultural shift where such behaviors are no longer excused or glamorized, but are instead called out for what they are: predatory actions that leverage power, money, and fame against those with significantly less agency. Perhaps one of the most damning aspects of this saga is the fact that both Katt Williams and actress Monique had explicitly warned Sharpe about these exact dangers during their respective interviews on Club Shay Shay. Monique, speaking with the wisdom of experience, advised Sharpe against pursuing younger women, urging him to seek relationships with women closer to his own age, who wouldn't be as easily manipulated or impressed by fame and wealth. Yet Sharpe, rather than heeding these warnings, laughed them off, behavior that in hindsight reveals a tragic unwillingness to accept guidance that could have saved him from his current predicament. The way Sharpe visibly dismissed these cautionary words now serves as a painful reminder that arrogance and denial often pave the way for personal downfall, especially when layered with fame, ego, and unchecked desires. Now, as the lawsuit unfolds and the scandal continues to dominate headlines, Shannon Sharpe's once respected public image has taken a catastrophic hit. Regardless of the eventual legal outcome, the damage to his reputation appears irreversible, with sponsors, fans, and professional peers distancing themselves from the growing controversy. The public consensus seems clear. Sharpe's credibility as a commentator, mentor, and public figure has been permanently compromised by these allegations and his own decisions. Whether or not he manages to clear his name in court, the broader cultural conversation has already moved toward holding him accountable for the moral and ethical failures that allowed such a situation to occur in the first place. His downfall serves as a sobering cautionary tale about the dangers of entitlement, fetishization, and the misuse of power, reminding audiences everywhere that no amount of fame or success can shield someone from the consequences of reckless and exploitative behavior.